Does term quorum. Number 1, consider recoding 2018 city project number 3, parking lot improvements. Mr. Emery.
Thank you, Mr. President. So after the request to proceed with receiving quotes again for the VFW parking lot was basically voted down at your January 15th council meeting, the mayor had asked that I kind of revisit the project to see if there could be some changes, modifications made, things that we could do to help kind of reduce the overall project cost. One of which was removing the storm sewer. So I did look at that. I think by building up the grade kind of on the west side, kind of along the VFW there, I think we could kind of get most of that to flow from west to east and pretty much drain that lot by gravity. I still like the idea of the catch basin better, but again, if we're looking for ways to save money, you know, we can make that work by gravity. So the other thing we did there is we just reduced our overall base thickness a little bit, took out basically the geogrid fabric, you know, kind of keeping in mind a little bit here too that, you know, we're not designing this parking lot for a 50-year design life or something. So, and then also I did have epoxy paint striping in there. If I change that to a latex paint, we would have some additional savings there too. So, and then which I probably did not clarify the first time is in that overall project cost, there is an existing driveway and sidewalk that kind of leave that parking lot right now just south of the intersection. We would eliminate that driveway. Access to the parking lot would come from the alley, and then we'd be able to do some needed sidewalk repairs there too. And then also there's some drive over curb there. We would pull out that drive over curb and put in full curb, put in the sidewalk with the brick pavers so it kind of matched, you know, the whole downtown there. So that entire work, you know, construction wise, we were estimating about $12,664. So I wanted to kind of break that out so you realize there is some costs there that ultimately, even if the parking lot project doesn't move forward, those are probably some repairs that the city should make regardless. So with that, you can see kind of under the proposed budget, parking lot, you know, with construction, all of the soft costs, we're looking at about $81,905. And then with the sidewalk driveway work, again, we're looking at about $12,664 in construction, or a total of $15,703. One thing I probably should point out is under the plans and specs, there's about $7,800 there. Of that, you know, for the plans that we prepared the first time, we have billed about $4,500 of that. So, you know, some of that money has already been spent. Proposed funding for the project, the city does have TIF dollars that they would be able to utilize for this work. And talking to Carla, she said that the TIF districts had been decertified so that those TIF dollars basically can be utilized anywhere within the community for infrastructure type projects as this. So, and talking to Carla, there's a pretty good balance in that TIF account to, you know, pay for this. So I guess just looking for, I guess, maybe a recommendation from you if you want us to proceed with making a few of these changes in the plans and then moving ahead and getting quotes. So,
Mayor, what would you say is the tentatively and approximately what would be the savings in this version compared to the first?
Probably in that 10 to 12,000.
Okay, about 12. And again, the reason, and I even supported not going forward with it last fall because all the quotes came in much higher than we thought. And so the only reason, and we all agreed very unanimously, last fall wasn't the time to do this. And for all we know, the quotes could come at this or even lower, depending upon how eager or hungry these contractors might be. I'd love to see it. I know there will be a discussion, and it's a good discussion, about what is our long-term plan for that property. And I think our reluctance to sell it to someone as a parking lot or as any other use is we do want to control what would go in there. And so far, no one has brought a proposal that would really fit properly in that site. What I would look for and what I would ask this body to do in terms of going forward and doing a project in there, a building project, step one, a commercial tenant committed long-term. It's not going to be okay to build an apartment building with a vacant commercial space on the main floor and then have that property owner take 3 or 4 or 5 years and say, we can't find a tenant for that space. And even some threats I heard on that first one, now where Up North Pizza is, some threats of we may have to convert that to a residential space on the main floor. That's unacceptable. That is not a good use for that downtown district to think about a full apartment building all the way to the main floor. So it has to be a commercial, I believe, on the main, according to the zoning, and a commitment from a commercial entity such as a grocery store, a corner market. A commitment like that is what I would be looking for to agree with any sort of project going forward. Not like what happened on Up North, where you had a vacant commercial space for how many years, and because we also have commercial spaces available up and down that street even now. And so I think the best thing we can do is upgrade that corner to a well-designed, well-lighted parking lot and wait for a good property or good project to come along saying, we have a commercial entity willing to make a long-term commitment there, and then go forward with that. Also, by the way, which should include parking. What we missed on the Up North project was really parking for that facility. We missed it for particularly the commercial part of it. The tenants, I think, have good off-street parking available to them, but we can do better. Whatever we're going to do on this corner, if it ever is developed, it could be 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. I would look for a commercial commitment right up front, not an empty space with apartments above. And I would insist upon, at least if it were to me, a parking plan better than what happened on Up North building. So in those, that's why I think it could still be a while. Again, because also available commercial space up and down the strip, and those could fill first. They would be more economical than building new. Yeah, so someone could move in there if there was such a demand. And that's where I think this could stay a very nicely lit, nicely striped, fully utilized parking surface for a while, a good while.
Mr. Riefel.
Are we going to get $130,000 out of that lot to pay for the parking, paving, and the cost of that real estate?
Over the years, absolutely yes, in property taxes. It's good. It looks like somebody's back alley right now. Nobody wants. It's not even an attractive property the way it is. It looks like somebody's back alley. It can present better than it does.
How are we going to get property taxes on our own property?
Well, you're saying, would we sell it and would someone build there, and
Right.
could we recoup that expense? And the answer is yes. They would build a building which would render significant property taxes over decades, way more than recoup our expense.
Are we going to charge Up North and the VFW for the use of that lot?
Absolutely.
$1,000 a month, split 2 ways,
Some number.
$12,000 a year,
Some
10
number.
years it's paid for.
I'd roll it into, and I think we can agree, I'd roll it into an overall parking plan for our downtown district. I'd roll it in, because others have access to hard surface striped parking right now. I would make it very similar to that.
That would have to be done before I'd ever vote yes for the parking lot. We'd have to have it done first.
So that would be for final approval. This is simply to get some quotes, just like the place where we were last fall, and there'll be another vote to finally let the quotes. I would love to just see where the quotes come and to try to visualize. I want to talk to the VFW, for example. Will they light that back end of the parking lot? Will they do the lighting part of it? I would think they'd really want to do that, safety to their patrons and just the overall aesthetics of it. So, I mean, little things like that can come in.
Snow removal, maintenance of it.
There you go. That'd be great. So,
For now, that's all I got.
Anybody else have anything on that? Anybody have any problems? Mr. Demers.
Thank you, Mr. President. What's the total amount in that TIF account?
There is, and the one district, $656,000. And the other one, there's $272,000. And we are collecting $2,400 a month from Minnesota Heights in that account.
For how long?
I think Minnesota Heights has another 7 years, maybe, I'm sorry, I didn't
Right.
check on that, sorry.
And that money is completely unencumbered?
Correct. And when we do certify the TIP fund, the TIP districts, we set it up so that that money could be used anywhere in the city for infrastructure.
For
Anywhere in the
infrastructure.
city.
Public improvement infrastructure, to that extent, it's usable, but it couldn't be used, for example, to build housing or something like that. So we're saying it's entirely unencumbered is going beyond. It has limits, but it has to be used for public use, public infrastructure type activities anywhere in the city.
Thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Brewers? Anybody else have any questions or comments or any reason we shouldn't get it re-quoted? Okay. Appreciate it.